Week 16 of the 2025 NFL season is here. Even though some teams are out of it, there's always something to play for. This is your only place to get your 16-leg, low-stakes, high-reward, moneyline parlay. This is the Sunday Script. All right, everyone, welcome back. Week 16 of the Sunday Script. Like I said in the intro, we're going to have some games on this schedule where it means nothing besides draft positioning, which, like I said, gives you something to play for, right? We got some coaches playing for their jobs, for sure.
Yeah.
Which I'll get into here at the end of the show. But players playing for contracts, like we say. You know, the whole narrative is, oh, this team has nothing to play for. They're playing for the number one pick. But we see it all the time. Teams come out and win and rinse their chance at the number one overall pick, right? Because at the end of the day, they're still football players.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then on the other side of that, you got teams competing for playoff spots as we finally end the season here. Almost the end of our first successful season, even though we didn't lock so far. We still have 3 more weeks.
Still 3 more
we
weeks.
still have 3 more weeks to fucking lock.
Don't worry.
And last week, we went 12 for 16. Kind of our average showing.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of the sweet spot. The sweet spot so far this year, but we're going to up it this week for sure. We know that. But we'll get into it with a good old-fashioned Thursday night rinse. We have a NFC West matchup here. Probably the most anticipated matchup on this slate, maybe other than Bears-Packers, which we'll get into, right?
Yeah. Maybe not anymore, right?
Yeah, maybe not anymore. We'll see. But Rams are minus 1.5 going to Seattle. The money line odds here got them as pick'ems pretty much, even dead minus 110. Stafford probably wrapped up his MVP race with a 368-yard, 2 touchdowns against the Lions on Sunday, routing his old team. You know, they rolled through what used to be a ferocious Lions defense, and we'll talk about the Lions here later, but a great game for Puka. I mean, Puka might be... he might be the best receiver in football.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When it's all said and done, just the sheer strength of Puka and his catching ability as a wide receiver is fantastic, which is some great insight. But he's having a great year, right? The big issue is, of course, Nick's favorite, Devontae, goes down with a hamstring injury, which are a bitch to deal with, right? Those are lingering.
Yeah.
They stagger for some time, and we'll just have to see how Devontae goes for the rest of the season. I don't think he's going to play this week, which is a big loss for the Rams. However, when you still have Stafford, Kyron Williams, and Pookie, you know, you still have a dynamic offense.
Yeah.
And, you know, on the other side of things, the Seahawks and Sam Darnold failed to reach the end zone, you know, and barely escaped Grandpa Phillip.
Yeah.
At home. You know, they didn't find the end zone once. 6 field goals. You know, Jason Myers kicks that game winner, you know, from whatever it was, 58, 59, 60 yards, right? And really saves their ass. The one issue, though, in this game is that the Rams allowed a lot to Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra had a great game last week. Could we see the same thing from JSN, right? The Rams secondary is kind of crumbling as we go along here in the season. But I don't really see that happening. I think the Rams are going to solidify themselves as the number 1 seed in the NFC and the number 1 seed in the NFC West. So we're going to take whose house to fly up north and beat the Seahawks this week on the Sunday Script.
Yeah. This is probably the biggest game of the week, I would say, beside the Bears-Packers. We'll talk about them later. Lots of divisional implications for them. They got even records. So we'll see how that goes for them. Sam Darnold, I've been saying I'm not sold on him. People are like, oh, Sam Darnold's elite.
Well, he is.
He's all right, but like you said, you know, not getting into the end zone versus the Colts, they're not a notoriously good defense, you know?
No.
And that's kind of embarrassing that they went in with, you know, 45-year-old Grandpa Rivers in a short week, basically, and came in there and gave them a run for their money. I've been touting their defense. Their defense still played pretty well. But I don't think it's going to be able to stack up against the Rams offense. The Rams offense is firing on all cylinders, even with Devontae Adams out. I think Pookie's too hard to cover. He doesn't need Tay-Tay. And their running game is now exploding. Kyron Williams is having an actually good season besides rinsing on the end zone.
Besides rinsing on the Thursday night rinse.
I think he took a chip on his shoulder from that one. So I like how Stafford's playing a lot better than Darnold. I need to see a lot more out of Darnold. Those 4 interceptions might have got to him because he hasn't been playing as well after that. And as we always say, Sam Darnold's used to choking in big games.
Yep.
This is the biggest game of the season for them right here.
Yep.
Divisional. So we'll see how it goes. I like the Rams in this one, even on the road. So they're going to take that one away.
I'm just noticing this is their second Thursday night game this year, which is a rinse from the schedule makers.
Yeah.
Putting the same team on 2 Thursday night games in 1 year, I think is ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. I mean, I guess you get like 2 mini buys, but 2 Thursday nights is
awful. It's awful.
Yeah, we'll get into it. Another divisional game. We got the Eagles and the Commanders in Washington. Commies scored 29 in their win over the Giants. But I mean, that was like a someone has to win, and we kind of expected that too,
or tie,
Yeah, that would have been funny. We kind of expected that from the Commanders. They're now in the running for a number 1 pick. People are starting to doubt Jaden Daniels. Long time coming, I think. Him and Fart, as I was saying last week, both have very aggressive, run-heavy play styles, and you got to be a big body to do that. You can watch what I said about that last week.
Yeah.
But, they're not even sure. They might get Jaden Daniels back out there this week against the Eagles. It's not looking like it, and I think it would be honestly foolish if you did. You're out of the playoffs. Play for a draft pick, throw Mariota in there, maybe see what he can do.
Yeah.
Test out some rookies, X, Y, Z. See what you're working with for next season. Eagles, on the other hand, they're man, are they even gonna make the playoffs at this rate, dude? I don't know. They're all right, but what are you gonna do? Like, I'm not trusting the Eagles against any good teams.
No.
The only thing with the Eagles is that they have the roster talent to beat all the bad teams, right? So with the Eagles, I mean, I would assume that they're going to go beat up the Commanders. The Commanders don't really have anything to play for at this point.
Yeah.
But it could just be, as I always say, right? Like I said with the Saints and Bucks too, this could be like a divisional fuck your playoff seeding, game for the Commanders. And Mariota's been serviceable. So if he plays, I'd honestly watch out. I think Mariota's going to be better than hurt Jaden Daniels. That being said, we're going to lock in the Eagles, like I was saying, based off the roster talent. Still good defense. They'll be able to put the Commanders away.
Yeah. Like Carm said, this is really a what do you see from your guys that you got for Dan Quinn, right?
Absolutely.
And the Commanders, right?
Absolutely.
Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got going for next year. Let's try to get the best pick possible we can and maybe get back to, resembling what they were a year ago, right, when they're making the NFC Championship game. And this is a complete polar opposite of that. Of course, a lot of that is the inability of Jaden Daniels to stay on the field.
Absolutely.
Right? Your best ability is availability. So that maybe is a deeper conversation. If we have same issues next year with Jaden, then watch out, Commanders fans, because your left hand will be down.
And one more thing with Jaden Daniels too is a lot of people like to throw him into these elite conversations after one season, but it's like after one season, how can you really compare him with these top names when he doesn't play?
I agree.
Injuries or not, he's not on the field, so you don't really know what this kid has. He's played one season.
Right.
Anyway,
so that'll be the joy of next year, right? If we get a full healthy Jaden Daniels to see what he's able to do. I mean, it's a shame that we're talking about them right now like that, but I also kind of like it because it's Commanders. You know how I feel about the Commanders.
Yeah.
Philly, they get their typical get right game.
Yeah, of course.
Against Kenny Two Gloves. You would have Gino out there at Kenny Two Gloves. I think Gino might have scored -2 points.
Yeah.
-3 points.
Whatever.
But,
Gino's terrible.
But I mean, they put up a fat goose egg against the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's an easy get-right game for them, like I said. Philly this is a little playoff tune-up for them, right, to get them going, feeling good about the playoffs, because they're going to make the playoffs because that division's awful. Dallas is really falling off a cliff. The Commanders are the Commanders, and, Fart's in the negotiation tent every game, so I won't talk about Fart later. But they'll see them again in 2 weeks. So they'll get 2 easy wins here to end the season, hopefully. That's our hope, right? And then head into the playoffs with probably, 10, 11 wins, but nothing crazy for them. And another down season for the Eagles, even though they won 11 games.
Yeah, like winning 11 games, but I mean, some bad losses too. And it hasn't been a great season for them.
We're gonna fly Eagles fly in this NFC East matchup. That's going to move us into Packers are coming to Soldier Field. Packers are still the road favorite this week.
Surprise.
Against the Bears. These two rivals meet again for the second time in 3 weeks. However, the storyline this week is very different, right? So, without Micah Parsons, Evan Williams, Zach Tom, and Christian Watson, injuries are one thing to have, some good pieces hurt, but that's like your team,
Yeah.
Minus, Jordan Love. Jordan Love's the only one you would throw in that mix and be like, wow, this is a rinse.
Yeah.
Right?
Basically, all your star players.
Right. But the thing is, if you're a Packer fan, Micah just added. Micah was kind of the cherry on top. I think the expectations for the Packers this year were still to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Right? And then you get Micah, and that is the literal cherry on top. However, without Micah now, has the air been sucked out of Midget LaFleur's team? We'll just have to find out. I think they're too well coached to have this really impact them too much negatively. Mm-hmm. Of course, Rashawn Gary has about 26% of the pressures compared to, Micah Parsons' 80 on the team.
Yeah.
So you're getting a lot of pressure from Micah, which covers up their biggest flaw, which is their secondary.
Always has been.
Right. Their secondary is their biggest flaw. And you still have Devontae Wyatt out too, so the run defense is going to take a hit too. And that is a lot to overcome, but they're a well-coached team, and the Bears are hoping that they can, recreate what they did in the second half. Mm-hmm. 2 weeks ago in Green Bay. Came out really slow, but then been adjusted, right? That was a 21-21 game. Packers take the lead late, and then Caleb rinses to lose the game, right? It feels like the tables have tilted in the Bears' favor this week, and I feel like that's the national perspective as well. But they can't sleep on this Packer team. Jordan Love is still having a great season, and he could definitely carry them to a win. Rome might be out again, and Martin Luther might be out again. So we will see, because that'll be DJ Colson-Loveland, Monangai Swift type of game, which are still good weapons to have, though. So that's why the wide receiver depth for the Bears was a good thing for them. That doesn't really worry me that those two are out. More so than, of course, if I was a Packer fan and Evan Williams and Micah and Josh Jacobs is hurt too. Right? He's
been hurt all season, dude, since Metcalf.
Yeah, so we're gonna take the Bears this week at home.
Yeah.
To split.
Honestly, I don't really see. I get that the Packers won the last game, but I was listening to another NFL podcast. He said it the best. It's not the same team anymore. With all the injuries. I mean, the Packers have lost all of their star players, and the season felt a bit cursed. Jaden Reed went out early in the season, right?
Yeah.
And then you lose to the Browns. Okay, that's just, bad juju, from the get-go. And they've been up and down. And then they get on this hot streak, right? They get Christian Watson back. They get Jaden Reed back. Micah's having, great year as expected. And when Christian Watson got hurt, it was like, oh, damn, that sucks, because we finally have a WR1 that is a legitimate WR1 that we can throw down the field to.
I agree.
That has been another huge problem for the Packers, right? Now he's out, and now they're going to struggle throwing the ball again. And then you get into Micah Parsons. I mean, we talk about Mahomes, too. That's just bad for the sport, in my opinion,
Yeah.
One of the biggest stars in the NFL, not just on the Packers, is now out for the season. And that's going to ruin, as Tim was saying, their pass rush, which is going to expose their secondary, which has been a problem for quite some time. I think there's going to be a lot different game. I think Caleb's going to be able to pick on the secondary because of the lack of pass rush.
Yeah.
If you watched, I don't think Micah had a sack against Caleb, but he was in his face all night.
He was damn close, which is, Miles had too last week. So.
Yeah. So it's a rinse for the Packers. They'll probably still make the playoffs, but
for sure.
I'm excited to see this team next year, healthy and happy and well adjusted. Get Tucker Kraft back, Micah back, a bunch of stars, maybe shift around the O-line. But I'm a Packers doomer now, so we're going to lock in the Bears. And
I will say real quick, all the people out there who are trying to save face, I feel bad. I feel bad for the Packers. Bears fans out there saying, I feel bad for the Packers that everyone got hurt. Like, that sucks. Like, they're just trying to save face. Nobody roots for injuries.
No.
Right? But I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm happy that Micah Parsons got hurt, but like, I'm not upset about it.
No, it's just like, it's better for the Bears in the long term. It's better for the Bears in the long run, so all the Bears fans can stop trying to save face and saying they're sad about it, because they're not. You're not sad about it. And it's the NFL, right? Anyone can get hurt on any given play. Yeah. These guys make millions of dollars, right? And these coaches get paid millions of dollars to adjust based off injury. Yeah. Right? Absolutely, I agree.
So I'm just sick of the people trying to save face, that's all.
It's definitely just, as a fan, deflating to see your star players go out. Because then it's like, that's who you watch the game for.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Nick, we talk about injuries, we spent a lot of time on it, but so what do you think? How did the injuries affect the Packers side of the ball?
I think it's really gonna expose the foundation that the Packers have. I mean, the Packers have always had a kind of a solid foundation. They've been a good team for a long time, and the Bears are up and coming right now, so they're showing a lot of potential. So I feel like this is a chance for the Bears to kind of show that their foundation is strong and something to build off of. Despite the hollow victory they could get if they won this game, I don't think it'll represent the full strength of the Packers. And unfortunately, we're going to have to wait till next year to see if the Bears have really lived up to the standards we put on them after all these
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
No, but that's the other side of that coin when it comes to people saying though they're sad that there's injuries, right? So
I don't know. I know a lot more Bears fans that are happy about the injuries.
Yeah.
Well, they're assholes.
Well,
Rest in power, Michael Parsons. We're gonna move into Dallas taking on the Chargers, -1.5 Cowboys. These are not the best football teams. One is probably going to make the playoffs. The other is probably not going to make the playoffs. We'll see about this game. It's an interesting one to go off of because you have two very good quarterbacks with one just defense rinse on Dak Prescott, so they can't stop anyone from scoring points and he can't keep up. Yeah. And then Justin Herbert is, doing junior Josh Allen and doing everything for his team because he gets pressured in his face as soon as he takes any snap in a football game. Derbert's been making plays, though. I got to say, he's been making a lot of plays for that team.
Yeah.
And I like the direction they're going. If you watch my take last week, I said that I'm very excited for this Chargers team because they started out very hot. Jesse Minter's defense is running well. I think it's only going to get better next season. I think that kind of like we were talking about the Packers, it was a week of injuries. The Chargers have been plagued by injuries this season, and those tackle injuries are definitely showing. As I was saying, Derbert's pressured all the time. Omarion Hampton came back, opened their run game a little bit better, but Kamani Vidal off the practice squad wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
So they'll probably rock out with like a 1-2 punch. Cowboys, I was touting their defense coming back. I think not. I think that the Cowboys need to spend all their draft picks. They got a lot of draft capital coming up. Put some better players around Dak. I mean, he doesn't have too many good years left, so you're in your championship window with him, and 500 record isn't really going to do it.
No.
So we'll see what happens. Cowboys -1.5. I think that's just because they're at home. I do think the Chargers are a better football team. I think that their defense is going to stack up better pound for pound to the Chargers defense. I think Derbert, with a little fire under his ass, he's going to be more and more healthy every week with his left hand. Coming into the playoffs, Derbert's going to want to show him something. So give me the Bolts in Dallas.
Yeah, so these are, like Carm stated, two very flawed football teams, right? And they both have their glaring issues, right? So the Chargers, we've been talking about it all year, the O-line, right? 4.7 sacks a game against a Dallas pass rush that's been improving over the course of the year. However, Justin Herbert's been able to make plays, and he's going to be able to attack that god-awful secondary for the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion. And if the Chargers officially eliminated Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs from the playoffs, right?
Yeah, how about it?
And the Bolts in their defense, they held KC to 13 points before he left the game, and Minshew goes in and rinses like he does.
Yeah.
But that same defense gets the tee up against the Cowboys this week. And if you're able to hold Mahomes to 13 points, who they're having a down year, sure. In Jerry world, is Dak's offense going to be able to blow up? I don't know. I mean, this is a 500 team, and they have their weeks, and last week they rinsed to 9.
Yeah.
So if you're going to rinse to 9...
You can't rinse to 9,
If you're going to rinse to 9,
we called that shit, though.
We called that.
We called that shit because their defenses, their secondary.
So after a loss to Minnesota, the Cowboys have a 1% chance to make the playoffs, and when the Chargers beat them this week, that'll go down to 0. So we're going to take the Bolts. We're going to take the Chargers this week. But that's going to move us into, speaking of 9, Vikings are -3 to go into Jersey, to go into MetDeath. And the Giants currently hold the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. And they'll want to hold on to that so they can have leverage against other teams. We saw it when the Bears had Justin and didn't want to take Bryce, although in the long run, that seems like that was the best trade ever, maybe. Trading back from 1 to 9 and getting the next year's number 1 overall pick and getting Caleb. So
Better,
the Giants have their opportunity to kind of replicate that and have all the leverage for some doofus team that wants to go up and get Mendoza from Indiana, who just won the Heisman. So
I don't talk college football. I don't know.
I don't either, but he won. I know who won the Heisman, and it was him.
Nah, I don't watch kids play football.
Or gamble on them, right?
No.
But who's going to be stupid enough to trade up for Mendoza? We'll just have to see. And, this is the question of the week here. Was J.J. McCarthy fixed by cock?
Who knows?
I mean, it's far too early to say. He feasted on two of the league's worst pass defenses in the last two games. And helped out a bit by his own defense. But we've been big B-Flow fans for a while now.
Oh, yeah.
The Vikings defense is a good defense. And like we said, Fart was in the negotiation tent last week again.
That's what he does, man. He makes a living in there.
But if they don't want him to run, then that really limits his productivity on offense because it's such a key aspect of his game.
Yeah.
But with that, we'll take the Vikings to keep rolling and win 3 in a row, actually. They're eliminated from any playoff contention, so they're just trying to see what they have in 9. And if 9 can put a good run together here at the end of the year and show that he was fixed by cock, then the Vikings can have a positive outlook on next season.
Absolutely. 9 is in kind of. I don't think people realize how dire his situation is.
Yeah.
To keep having good games, because if he doesn't put together a string of good games like he has been, at the back half of this season, they're going to be shopping. The Vikings are going to be shopping for someone to be starting ahead of him. Maybe even spending some draft capital to bring someone in and see what they can challenge 9 to, because he has had some rough starts in this early season, but he's been playing well. Giants, on the other hand, Jackson Fart, negotiation 10 again. I said it last week. He gets hurt all the time, and Tim saying, it limits, some of his usability. I think it frankly destroys his usability. I think that his run game is what makes him even remotely viable. Yeah. I mean, we see the interceptions that he threw last week. Like, who are you throwing to? Just steps up in the pocket, doesn't know what he's doing, throws behind a receiver on a slant. Like, dude, come on.
Well, we've been down on Fart all year, and the Fart glaze was ridiculous.
We have been down on Fart all year. He can run the football sometimes. He did last week. That's what he does. But then you open yourself up, like I was saying, the big hits. You don't want to do it. I think B-Flow is going to feast on this kid. That's what I think. Yeah. I think B-Flow is going to feast on this kid. He's going to send some of the backers up the middle. The pocket's not going to open up right away. Send a backer up the middle. Jackson Fart's going to step up, take off running, and just get laid out like Christian Ellis did to him, man.
Yeah.
Honestly. Kid needs to get a grip, man. Give me the Vikings. I like their defense, even on the road at Met Death. All right, and now we are moving into Miami. The Dolphins are hosting the Bengals. They are on fire right now. Even though they just lost and got their asses kicked by the Steelers, the media is still saying they're on fire. Their offense is hot until they have to go play in 9 degrees, in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So I don't really see the Dolphins' love. We took Pittsburgh last week. Aaron had an amazing game. And Tua is just, they're really, this is the thing with the Dolphins, dude. They're really going to sit back next year and pay him $50 million or whatever just to rinse. And honestly, that's just a pure sunk cost fallacy, not to make this an econ lecture, but this is a sunk cost fallacy of, we're paying this guy so much money, we have to play him. We had this conversation, right, about Brock Purdy and Mac Jones earlier in the season. Are you obligated to play this guy because you're paying him so much? I mean, Jesus Christ, dude, he throws an interception every game. He can't stop turning the ball over. At a certain point, you need to get someone competent back there. Get one more receiver. You got A-Chain. You get someone who can throw the ball a little bit. Daniel Jones is on a contract year. Maybe send him down to Miami.
Oh, God.
Maybe not. But you know what I'm saying, man. They need to get Tua out of there. I don't like Tua in this game. Joe Burrow, on the other hand, is also maybe going to suck at football for other reasons because his heart's not in it. Whatever the fuck he said. Yeah. The Burrow spark is out, though. It was good for a game and then, game and a half, and then it is what it is. The Bengals are toast this season. Their coach is going to get fired. Joe Burrow's probably not going to play, and their greedy GMs are going to just hoard money instead of putting together a solid football team.
Yeah.
So I don't really have much good to say about the Bengals, except the Dolphins are complete frauds, and Joe Burrow is going to bounce back and take it home in Miami.
Yeah. So, I mean, like Carm said, Tua turn the ball over, right? It's just
every time.
He's just rinsing, and Achane has been the one bright spot of that team so far this year. If you're a casual, you have no idea who Devon Achane is.
Yeah.
Right? But he's been having a fantastic year. He's always been good, but his injuries have definitely limited him. And we were saying they won't be missing Kryreek, and we've been talking about Kryreek, of course, all year on the show because he's been hurt.
He has been hurt, yeah.
But they miss Kryreek. They do. I mean, when Kryreek's healthy, he's still, a fantastic weapon.
We'll see next year.
We'll see next year. He probably won't even be on the Dolphins next year. So watch out. He'll go to the Chiefs. Watch. There's my prediction. Right, or the Packers or something. Yeah. But like Carm said, the Joe Burrow spark is gone, and Joe Burrow can stop crying. I mean, he's out here sobbing that his team sucks. He gets paid $200 million. He said it himself. I get paid to play a kid's game when he was playing the Ravens on Thanksgiving. He said that in an interview, and then he loses a couple times and goes out and cries about, his disorganized franchise that he's a part of, right? Which he decided to sign an extension with. Mm-hmm. So he decided to stay there, knowing that it's poorly ran, knowing that the owners are cheapskates, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they didn't even have a practice facility until 2 years ago.
No.
I mean, that's such a rinse.
It is a rinse,
right?
Dude.
They're just a poorly ran franchise, and that was Joe Burrow's decision to stay there. So Joe Burrow can keep crying all he wants. I have zero empathy for the man. He's always hurt himself, right? So that's on him, too. Maybe if you played a full season, the team wouldn't be ass. Did you think about that, maybe?
Yeah, that's right? That's true.
Maybe they wouldn't have Joe Flacco running a Joe Flacco offense and a Jake Browning offense for a whole year and then have you come in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So Zach Taylor's as good as gone.
Definitely.
Both of these teams had awful seasons. Dolphins might end up being above 500, but, Mike McDaniels is as good as gone, too. So we'll take the Bengals this week for sure. But, Nick, what are your thoughts here about the Dolphins out of the playoffs? So I don't have to eat a script, so that's good for me.
Dolphs elite. Yeah, it might be good for you, but it was bad for the Dolphins. I mean, seeing last night's game was just so disheartening. I mean, it started so well, a good run. I mean, they were playing well. Defense was holding them, but then it started to look like the paychecks finally got to the Dolphins. All the way in Florida, and all of a sudden, Hawk Tua, spits it into someone else's mouth instead of his own team, which is very upsetting. I think the game we watched against the Steelers didn't show how good the Steelers actually are. I think it just showed how poorly ran the Dolphins are. I mean, their defense holds up and does their best, but obviously there's problems with their coverage. The defensive coordinator should be fired. The offense can't do anything besides do 3-and-outs. The offensive coordinator should be fired. Honestly, get rid of the whole office. I feel like that'd be the best situation. And then get rid of Hawk Tua. He's got a fun name. It's fun to say it. But past that, we need someone with substance that wants to play football. Probably try to get someone from the colder weather schools that spend their whole life playing the sports up cold, up where it's nice and cold. Although I think everyone likes to say they're not used to playing in the cold. I feel like that's a complete nonsensical argument because Hawk Tua showed how the game could be played up with the Jets, but these days I don't think that he's the one that's carrying the team. I think it's the team that's carrying him.
I agree, Nick, for sure. And if I was a Dolphins player, I'd definitely be playing my ass off, for another contract there next year so I can stay in Miami.
Yeah. There's also 30 degrees warmer in New Jersey.
There's no excuses. Yeah. You play a professional sport. It's a little cold out. People drive to work. They don't cry.
Yeah, that is a great point. All right, but we're going to move into the NFC South leader, right? Whoever wins this game will be the leader of the NFC South. Bucks -3 going into Carolina. If you had to put a gun to my head and tell me who to pick, the winner of this division would be, I'd probably just tell you to shoot me because whoever I pick is going to inevitably rinse, If I pick the Panthers, they'll just rinse. If I pick the Bucks, they'll just rinse. That's how both of these teams' seasons are going. And, they're taking the field in Week 16. The Bucks are 1-5 in their last 6 games with a defense that's allowing 29.3 points per game and 6.6 yards per play. Mm-hmm. So not a good look for Todd Bowles and his team.
Not at all.
And they get to play a Carolina team that has the most inconsistent quarterback in football. But you know what that means? The flip-flop Panthers are in full effect, right? 1 week they win, 1 week they rinse,
Yep.
1 week they win, 1 week they rinse. And getting swept by the Saints is an awful look, Dave Canales. So you need to look in the mirror and maybe put some more gel in your hair. I don't know if you've ever seen that, guys.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But if it's the flip-flop Panthers, last week they flopped, this week they flip, right?
Yep.
So we're going to take the Panthers to win in Carolina at Bank of America Stadium this week on the Sunday Script.
Yeah, this is turning into being not an exciting game because you don't really know what the deal with the Bucs is anymore. They were hot at the beginning of the season. Baker MVP. I was even saying their defense looked really good.
Yeah.
Injuries and a tough schedule has ruined their season. They are now, 7-6, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 7-6. So their playoff hopes are getting dim quick. And this is a big game for them because they got to beat the Panthers. This is the division right here. This whole division has been up and down all season. Falcons are in here too. And then the Saints are just beating everyone. So, what's to say with the Saints? Maybe New Orleans will come out on top. No, I think they're too far gone for that. But this has been a roller coaster of a division. Absolute must win for both teams. Bryce Young, inconsistent play, but I would say the Bucs have been less consistent.
Yeah.
They really relied on Baker, and even Igbuka, who was started off hot, is still missing throws or missing catches. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So, they're giving the Bucs -3. The Panthers play pretty good at home. I'm kind of surprised, especially like we're saying, the Bucs are on a tough schedule in terms of losses. They've won one of their last 6 games.
Yeah.
So. It's a rinse for me. I'm down on the Bucs now. This bye week has been torture for them. So give me the Panthers at home. With that, Nick, nobody wants to win this division, it seems like. So who do you think is going to come out on top? The Bucs, the Panthers, the Falcons, or the Nolans Saints?
To be honest, I don't think any of them are going to come out on top. I think they're all bad. They're all bad. I'd like to see something, but no one's going to do anything. I mean, it's just bad teams. That whole division is just absolute garbage. And if you set it on fire, it probably wouldn't even keep you warm. So, honestly, when it comes to winning the division, does it really fucking matter?
All right, it's at the Superdome. Well, that changes our pick a lot then. Not really. We're going to pick the Saints anyway because the Jets are poverty. They always have been. They always will be. It's a bad franchise. They're not going anywhere and beating anyone. They're not beating anyone at home. Tyler Shuck's been playing pretty good. I've liked what I've been seeing out of him. He's just beat 2 divisional opponents back to back. Those are always big games. He's running all right. He's running a lot against the Bucs. He's passing the ball all right as well. And I told you guys, these guys are playing for the baby food eater. You guys don't want to believe me, but I don't know how, right? Because you could see like Dan Campbell, right? He's got big imposing presence, right? And it's like, I want to, run through a brick wall for this guy. And then you see Kellen Moore and you're like, what the hell? Like, how's he rallying the troops?
Well,
but
Dan
damn it.
Well, Dan Campbell didn't put up one of the best seasons a college football quarterback has ever put up at Boise State, like Kellen Moore did. So
I always forget Kellen Moore was actually elite
college quarterback.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Kellen Moore's got him playing for him. I said already, I'm like the Chargers. I'm excited for them next season as well. Jets had nothing doing for me, man. Nothing to say about them. Give me the Saints in the Superdome.
Yeah, in his last 5 games, right? Carm touched on it. Tyler Shuck has completed 70% of his passes while averaging 236 passing yards a game and 7.4 yards per attempt, right? And that gives you a 93.7 QB rating. And maybe we were saying, why did they get rid of Little Rattle?
Maybe
why did
now
they
we
sit
know.
Little Rattle, and clearly we know that, Shucks, Shuck was coming in, and the baby food eater was all up on that, and there's a reason that the baby food eater drafted him.
Yeah.
Right? The baby food eater didn't draft Little Rattle, and, Little Rattle's been getting sad everywhere he goes from Oklahoma, and then he was dog shit at South Carolina, and then now in the Saints. So the Jets fired their defensive coordinator, and I think they should fire Aaron Glenn too. If I was the GM of the Jets, but also if I was the GM of the Jets, I'd be doing better things than this stupid fucking show. But if you're a Saints fan, this gives you something to watch for. It gives you something to watch for to see how Tyler Shuck plays. And if Tyler Shuck keeps playing like this, then he's going to be their quarterback next year.
Absolutely.
And he's deserved that right for sure. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about the baby food eater and the Saints next year as a worst to first. We see one every year.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
It could be the Bears this year, right? But it could be the Saints next year. So
I said it a couple weeks ago. I'm liking the Saints.
Yeah, and you can
year.
take back all the footage of me clowning the Saints at the beginning of the year, and you can make a montage of it, and I'll watch it and I'll enjoy it. But I'll say I was wrong. I was. They're not the worst team in football, and
no.
We'll talk about the worst team in football here in a little bit, but we'll take the Saints. We'll take the Saints in the Superdome for sure. That's going to move us into Bills -10 versus the shit-stained Browns. I don't even know where to start with the Browns. I mean, Shitter is putting up anything to Bears cornerbacks last week.
Yeah,
I mean, he throws 3 interceptions. 2 of them were his fault. One of them was Jerry Jeudy's fault, and Jerry Jeudy's a complete rinse.
Yeah.
Right? But Shitter played awful. He took 5 sacks, 3 interceptions. He had some nice long balls, though. That's the first full game of Shitter I've watched, just because it was the Bears game. Mm-hmm. And I was impressed by his long balls. However, that team's, in the ground dead, and they got nothing to play for. And I don't really know if Shitter can drive this Kevin Stefanski Ferrari, considering he probably has his own.
Yeah.
Right. So he's an NIL baby who has a lot of money, and his celebration to show off his Richard Milles and his Audemars Briguettes and everything. And he's a little braggadocious, but that's okay because he got pooped on by the Bears. But the Bills trailed 21-0. And 24-7 before half. And we were telling you last week the Patriots were due for a loss. And lo and behold, we were right again. Buffalo's offensive line dominated the line of scrimmage, and Josh Allen was, perfect. Dissecting that defense. And Josh Allen should win MVP this year, maybe.
That's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying is Josh Allen the real MVP of football, right? Like Jordan. Like Jordan could have won it every year, but sometimes you got to give it to other people just to
spread the wealth,
right?
Yeah.
But with all that said, look out for James Cook early this week against the Browns. The Bears didn't really run the ball fantastically well against the Browns, but DeAndre Swift still had like 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. So good game from James Cook. He'll take the rushing lead this year. And we're going to take the Bills. I mean, the Browns are, awful. So we'll take the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns are terrible franchise, poverty, always have been, probably always will be, because they always like to complain about the merger and, Baltimore just got up and took our whole team. Well, it's been like 50 years. Get over it. Build a new team.
50 years and 78 quarterbacks?
Yeah. You've had some time you're not behind the 8 ball. You're $1 billion NFL team. You have no reason to be this poverty, and it's a disservice to all of your fans. And Shadur Sanders isn't going to save you either.
But fuck LeBron.
And fuck LeBron. Believeland. Anyway, that Bills game, I want to talk about them because that Bills game was fire, dude. They were really, really rocky start for them. Yeah. Patriots just down the field. Bang, bang, bang. Big run, just deflating plays. And Josh Allen maintained his composure. Yeah. And like Tim was saying, just picked apart the defense. He's playing out of his mind. I don't really understand why. When you think about the MVP, it is a lot of box score enthusiasts that are voting on him. That's why, right? You see Stafford throwing 350 yards every game, multiple touchdowns every game. He's not really paralleled in the stats field, and that's why they call him Stat Padford, But Josh Allen, to switch sports a little bit, I liken it. We were talking about LeBron, right? In basketball, you can have that one player, because it's 5-on-5. You can have that one player that'll just completely take over a game for you. Yeah. Football, ultimate team sport, it's not like that at all. You really do need to have a full team around you to compete at the championship level. And then you have, in basketball, like LeBron, first game, the Warriors are, a much better roster, much better team. What does LeBron do? Goes out, 50-point triple-double, right? Can't do that in football. But Josh Allen is finding a way to do it. He's doing it on the ground. He's doing it through the air, and he touches the ball every play, and he makes something happen every play. So I'm excited. I'm excited for them going into the playoffs. They need to fix their defense come playoff time. Yeah. But no reason that they shouldn't beat the Browns. But we've been wrong a couple times on the Browns. Sorry, Packers. Let's lock in the Bills and move into another shitter team. Tennessee. Two now. Eliminated from playoff contention, both of these teams. who's playing for what? Because we got the Tennessee Titans hosting the now completely maimed Kansas City Chiefs. Touched on it earlier. Once again, rest in power. Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL. He's out for the season, and that is absolute devastation. I would say probably much worse than the Micah Parsons injury in terms of the team. Patrick Mahomes has been that team for well over a decade now, and what are they going to do without him? Because the only reason that they were even close to 500 this year was because of him. Their defense is good too, but that is a major blow. They're out of the playoffs. They need to take some time off. I think it's good for them, honestly. Get some better draft capital. I was saying that. Their roster's getting old. Get some young guys in there.
Yeah.
See what you can do. This one, however, they're taking on the worst team in football. I've said it once, I'll say it again. The Titans, beat the Browns, sure, who's probably the second worst team in football. They're not doing anything this year. Cam Ward might be good later. I like Cam Ward. I like what I'm seeing. But you surround a young prospect with firing his coach earlier in the season and no weapons anywhere.
Yeah.
Not a recipe for success for a young kid like that. I want to see what he does next year. More time to develop in the system, more players around him. Give me the Chiefs. Chiefs at home. Their defense is a lot better than the Titans offense. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Titans are not good at scoring points, and the Chiefs defense is still very good. I've been on that all season. So give me the Chiefs. They'll probably win a 10-7 game or something.
Yeah, it won't be pretty considering Gardner's in the game, right? Minshew,
No.
We're back in Minshew mania. But
Yeah, you remember those 2 games that he was good all those years ago?
I do.
And then the media was like, "Oh my God, they do it
that's-
every year."
that's
You
where
saw with
Minshew-
Daniel Jones this year.
We did.
Right?
We
Anyway,
did. But
sorry.
for the first time since December 28th, 2014, the Chiefs will play a regular season game after being eliminated from playoff contention. So it's been that long. And the Titans need a loss to maintain any realistic chance of landing the number 1 overall draft pick, and they would be in the same position as the Giants, right? They're not drafting a quarterback because we've seen some okay things from Cam Ward this year, but the Chiefs are just too deep and too talented to simply roll over, I think, and they're way better coached. I mean, they don't have an interim running their team like the Titans do. And the Titans need to keep gaining in draft status. However, they could just go out there and play well. They played well against the Niners last week. They played a very stingy game against the Niners. They didn't roll over against the Niners, but Jeffrey Simmons is catching a touchdown. How many times is Jeffrey Simmons going to catch a touchdown in the year?
Yeah, right.
They're last in touchdowns, and then they have to have a D tackle catch one. So we'll take the Chiefs, though. Their roster is simply better than the Titans, even if they have Minshew playing. Minshew still might be better than Cam Ward at this point.
And just a coaching matchup.
And just a coaching matchup, too, yeah. But that'll move us into another great game this week. Jags are going into Denver. The Broncos officially own a playoff spot, the best record in the NFL, and the number 1 seed in the AFC, right? So it might have to go through Denver, the AFC. We'll just have to see. And beating the Packers last week, Bo Nix played fantastic. Fantastic game from Bo Nix. I mean, he could do nothing wrong. I mean, he almost threw some picks, though.
Packers dropped some.
They did drop some. He almost did rinse. He almost was Bo Picks and almost did rinse. But you have those games, right? Weather won't be an issue in Denver. And the Broncos, 18.6 points per game. They don't need the weather regardless, right? They're a good team anyways. And this is the game, right? This is the Trevor Lawrence. I'm just going to go out there and rinse.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Everyone's glazing T-Law after what she did against the Jets. The just and the suffering, I mean, it's the fucking Jets.
Yeah,
and sure,
Jets.
Trevor's having a better year. Maybe Liam Cohen has coached the rinsing out of her, but I see this as a classic T-Law throws 2 picks and is, 60% completion percentage and has, 190 yards and maybe some garbage time crap, and they lose by, 2 scores.
Yeah.
So we'll take the Broncos this week for sure.
Yeah, Broncos just won, as I was talking about earlier, the biggest game of the year for sure.
Well, for them, because people were saying they were frauds too.
Yeah, people were saying they were frauds, and the Micah Parsons injury definitely hurts. But like Tim was saying, Bo Picks was having himself a game, which is really a shame actually, because we had been so down on Bo Picks. And he tried to do it a couple of times, and the Packers just rinsed it away. But after a couple missteps from him on offense, he really got it rolling. And Tim was saying, pretty much anytime the ball left his hand, I was like, oh, there's another completion.
Yeah, outside the pocket, too.
Outside the pocket, he was making it happen. So I liked it. That was definitely the best game he's played all season. He needs to carry that into the playoffs. This is a formidable team, especially on defense. They are beating teams up on defense. Maybe Sean Payton's bounty system's back. I don't know. Could be. But I'm more, Bo Nix can carry that win into this game at home. I don't like Trevor Lawrence's odds, man. Because I think Denver is like an underrated, kind of rowdy place to play. I don't think people really give it that credit as a home stadium. And this is just going to be a Trevor Lawrence rinse game. They're getting hot. I think Trevor Lawrence
travel too. Long flight.
Yeah, long flight, and which we're big on. I think Trevor Lawrence is finally like kind of a few years behind, where now he has a good coach that can really coach him up and teach him to stop rinsing.
Yeah.
But it's still in progress, right? And he's going to come up against a really, really, really tough defense. I mean, we saw what Pat Surtain did. Athletic interception.
Yeah.
Their pass rush is something else. Trevor's gonna be in for a rude awakening. I think they're giving Broncos -3. It's cold playoff time. I think this is gonna get ugly for the Jaguars personally. So we're gonna lock in the Broncos, and with that, another battle of the birds for us. ATL is going into the red zone to take on Jacoby Brissett and the Cardinals. Cardinals not looking too hot coming into the end of the season. They did put up 20 points on the stingy Texans defense. Garbage time?
Yeah.
Yeah. But sure, Jacoby Brissett's elite. We've been saying it. Nick's been saying it, And the Falcons are a rinse. We were talking about this division earlier. Every team we pick always rinses us, regardless of where they're
in this division.
In this division, right? So it's like, give me a break. I'm not sold on the Falcons at all, personally. I think the Falcons have taken a massive dive, and I don't think the Cardinals' defense is that bad. I think they're going to be able to shut down Bijan and then just manage the clock with Jacoby. I think he's going to outplay Kirk Cousins, and that's going to be a wrap. They're at home. They got to give their fans something. Jonathan Gannon really doesn't want to get fired. And then we got to talk about where Kyler Murray's going.
Yeah.
Because he's not playing there next year.
No.
And there are some teams, that could the Vikings maybe perchance, right? That could use a quarterback.
Yeah.
And the draft class isn't looking that good. So we're gonna lock in the Cardinals.
Yeah, Raheem Morris. These are two coaches that are on the hot seat, kind of desperate for a win, right? Like Carm said, Jonathan Gannon's out there punching players and crying, and Raheem Morris is out there, crying to the refs that whole game on Thursday night. But the Cardinals are due. They are. The Cardinals have been rinsing for all year, and they're just due for a win in the red zone. I see a good game from Jacoby here, and the Falcons are so up and down all year. You can pencil in the Falcons for a 7-10 record now every year, it seems like. But we think Jacoby stops them from doing that this year. We'll take the Cardinals in a good game from Trey McBride in the red zone this week.
Yeah.
But Nick, do you think a team can really rally behind a coach on the hot seat, or do you think a team can also conspire to get him fired?
I mean, everyone likes to say it's one side or the other, but it's pretty evident when you play the game who's with who. I think when it comes down to the coach not, leading the team, then it's definitely the coach's fault. As for, all the other incidents, like hitting players, all that fun stuff, maybe that should have been seen earlier. This stuff just doesn't pop up. Maybe he hit his head or something. Maybe he's planning trips out to some place tropical. But right now, what I think the biggest thing is just get rid of him. I mean, what? You're not going to find another person who wants to be head coach. There's a billion sideline quarterbacks and, couch sitting people who would think that they can call it better than him.
I could definitely call a better game plan than Jonathan Gannon. I'll tell you that, because I wouldn't have Kyler Murray as my rinse quarterback.
So that would probably be the best situation. Just can him, find another one. That's how it's going to go.
I agree. But that'll move us into, maybe the real shit can of the NFL.
Yeah.
The Raiders are going into Houston.
Yeah.
Houston's minus 14. Is this the largest spread we've seen all year, Carm? I think it is.
Might be.
I think it is
Might
because
be.
usually we see that 13.5, which
Yeah.
is just. But 14 is disrespectful.
14's heinous.
The Raiders also got to lose to keep the number 1 overall draft pick. And they can definitely use that pick more than teams in the same position as them, right? Giants, Titans, and so on. And the question is, will Pete Carroll be making that pick? Probably not. The Texans, meanwhile, sit just a game behind Jacksonville in the AFC South, and they get the luck of the draw this week as Jacksonville has to go to Denver, right? So then they get to they get to poop on the Raiders and run around and have fun and get a nice game under their belt before the playoffs. And CJ Stroud continued playing better than he was at the beginning of the year when I was calling him, a rinse.
Yeah, maybe the concussion helped.
Maybe the concussion helped.
Knocked his brain into place.
Yeah, exactly. And the Raiders are, 14-point underdogs, but this game matters for the Texans, and their defense should keep Vegas in single digits. It's going to be ugly, and whether it's Kenny Two Gloves or Geno Smith or maybe Pete Carroll playing quarterback.
Maybe.
We've seen Phillip Rivers play quarterback at this point, so nothing's out of the realm of possibility. But we'll take the Texans. This is the clearest pick you can make all week this week.
Absolutely. Minus 14. I've said it a million times. I'm not a fan of big numbers, but I don't bet the spread.
You take this. So, but you take this if you do.
You might want to take this because the Raiders' offense is so bad. And we just saw what happened when they played a elite defense in the Eagles, shut out. It's like, God, guys,
Such
like nothing at all. And the Texans are even better than the Eagles on defense for sure. This is really going to be a matter of how well CJ Stroud and company move the ball down the field if they cover this number. This isn't really like a who's going to win this game. I guess, any given Sunday, as they say. We've seen it happen, but not this one, guys.
If the Raiders win this game, we should stop the show.
Yeah, not this one, guys. Yeah. Definitely lock in the Texans. The Raiders are gonna clean house.
I think they're like minus 1,100 money line or something.
Yeah, they're just something disgusting. We don't need to talk about it anymore. The Raiders are gonna, like I said, completely clean house and hopefully do something because Jesus is just. I watch all the games for you guys, and it's punishment every time I watch the Raiders play.
Yeah.
Nick, the Raiders are down bad. Only one person to blame, right?
Yeah, Tom Brady. The dude needs to step away from football. He retired and he's still not done with the sport. He owns part of a team. He talks about football as his job. Obviously he doesn't do well in anything else. We saw how his crypto fiasco went. But I think Tom Brady should just call it quits. Let other people talk about how great he is. He doesn't have to do that. And just fix the team. It goes all the way through. He needs to actually get in there, clean up shop, get rid of all the dead wood, and kind of try to put a team together. But the biggest problem with the Raiders is it's the team that you'd go see to go, if you were another fan and you were going to Vegas and you'd watch the beat up.
You go there to rinse all your money.
You'd go there, you'd watch your team go beat on whoever beat on the Raiders, and then you'd have a great time in Vegas. You'd tell your friends about it. But when
you could just go to Vegas, so you would guarantee watch your team win, and then plan your trip around that. So it'd be automatically a good trip.
Of course.
Yeah, you could say the same about how Miami's been playing. People would go to Miami, want to watch the Bears or the Packers beat up on Miami in Miami. But I think, I think that it's just an entertainment team. I don't think they actually have any substance to be good at any point. And, mark my words, I don't think they'll be good in my lifetime. I don't think they'll ever go to the Super Bowl in my lifetime.
All right. Well, what if Tom Brady takes over as the full-time owner, the GM, the OCDC head coach, and plays quarterback?
And plays the game and calls the game.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's going to happen. The dude's old and washed. We saw how Rivers came back to the league after, 4 or 5 years of not playing. It really laid its toll on him. You get outside of it. And it seems like Tom Brady nowadays is too busy, trying to get into a Mr. Beast video or anything like that, trying to keep up his relevancy, Who wants to work? Everyone just wants to talk. So I think Tom Brady, even if he was to put his full effort into it, is still to blame, and they're not going to be good.
All right, well, fair enough, Nick. Thank you very much. Fuck Tom Brady. I'm sick of that guy. Let's move into Detroit. They're hosting Aaron Rodgers, another return to the NFC North for him. Given the Lions -7, I don't know. I don't know about the Lions -7. The Steelers are all right. Aaron Rodgers had a good game. He was slinging the rock around, but it's against the rinsed Dolphins in the cold. We're not really expecting much out of them. They play inside. Lucky for Jared Goff that this isn't in Pittsburgh, because then I would just lock in a Steelers guaranteed win. He's like Tua in that sense. It seems like the Steelers can really only get the ball to DK and Darnell Washington, which I don't really love. Darnell Washington's cool and all, and like some certain formations and stuff, but having him as like your TE1 is kind of ridiculous in my opinion. I'm not too hot on the Steelers right now, despite the win. I liked what the Lions did against the Rams. They took them into a dogfight. The Rams were in pretty firm control, I would say, but it got close a little bit toward the end. That being said, I think the Lions are a much better team. They need to win these games to try and keep their playoff hopes alive, as do the Steelers, but Steelers aren't going to do anything in the playoffs. Lions are much better, especially on offense. Defense, a little bit suspect, but I like their defense against the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers is the best part, and he's 45 too. So lock in the Lions.
Yeah, so the Lions are teetering on the brink of missing the playoffs. A lot of people had them in their Super Bowl, prediction. But goes to show that any year, right? Any Sunday, any year, week-to-week league, and a lot of things change, right? So the Steelers somehow remain in first place, which is crazy to say. After that Bears loss, I feel like everyone kind of thought they were, and then they lost to the Bills pretty badly, right? And then everyone kind of thought that they were going to just disintegrate into nothing, and Mike Tomlin was going to be done. But Mike Tomlin seems to be saving his job again and producing another sub-500 season and a playoff berth, right?
Yep.
The Lions need to sharpen up their offense for the playoffs, and Rodgers is 8-18 all time against the Lions, right? But he's lost his last two starts in Ford Field. Both of those were off the back end of his Packers career, right? And then the Lions were on the come up, right? But the Lions have won 15 straight after a loss. Fun fact for you here on the Sunday script. So we'll take the Lions. The only thing that could bite us in the ass is if Aaron, goes back to his green and gold days and throws a Hail Mary in Ford Field like he did to just take the air out of the crowd there in Detroit, right? I don't see it happening. The Steelers aren't a bad team. The Lions aren't a bad team either. So this spread is a little nuts to me. -7, but we'll take the Lions this week.
Yeah, it's a lot this late in the season.
Yeah, now we're going to get into the Patriots are going into Baltimore, and this game was flexed into Sunday night primetime. Ravens are -3, right? After the Patriots with a 21-0 lead home lead against the Bills, and Drake May just rinsing, and not coming up clutch when they need him to. And Drake May lost his MVP votes for the year, so too bad, Drake May. You're not winning the MVP. That sucks.
No.
The Ravens, therefore, should have an easy game plan to follow, but that doesn't mean they'll win. I mean, we've seen Derrick Henry is not the same, and Lamar is. They beat down the Bengals last week, but that was their get-right game.
Yeah.
And now they're going to get back to their old ways of Lamar just rinsing this year. They need to throw in the towel and just try to get playoff positioning, in my opinion. And the Patriots need to demonstrate, resilience after their 10-game win streak. And like we said, they were due for a loss, right?
Yeah.
And, Drake May has, like I said, slipped slightly in the MVP voting, but can he and the Patriots bounce back this weekend? We think so for sure. And Lamar should just pack it in. We'll take the Patriots as the road dogs this week on the Sunday script.
You got the Patriots road dogs. I think this is where the Patriots either nut up or shut up. You had your cakewalk schedule. You won a bunch of games, and then you blow a 21-point lead at home.
Yeah.
Albeit divisional game. Josh Allen's on fire right now. I don't think that loss is a complete calamity for the Patriots. I think that it's something that they needed. They were due. They needed to learn how to lose again, and they need to do it before the playoffs when it's really time to win. They still have a great system around Vrabel. Drake May is still a very good quarterback. He's young. He's inexperienced. We're going to see how that plays out in the playoffs. On the other side of the ball, we got Lamar Jackson, who, just beat up on the Bengals. But the Bengals, their Joe Burrow spark left after the Bills game because they lost, right? So they had actually a really good game. Even the defense seemed to step up. and they lose that game, takes the wind out of their sails, come back, lose to the Ravens, and I don't think that the Ravens are really that good. I don't think that the Bengals should have been in that game with the Bills in the first place.
No.
I think it was that Joe Burrow spark like we were talking about. The Ravens played the actual Bengals team, which is a historically bad defense, no pass protection, etc. They walk away with that game. I don't think that really says too much about the Ravens team. Derrick Henry is washed. I've been saying it for a little while now. Lamar Jackson is still injured, and he's not as good as Josh Allen. This is where we see the good old-fashioned Lamar rinse after a win.
Yeah.
The Patriots are going to come into town, and it's not really a get-right game because they're, 11-2 now?
No, it's not a get-right game. But they were due last week.
But they were due, and they're gonna keep the train moving, so we're going to lock in New England. Takes us into the Monday night finisher. Indianapolis is hosting San Francisco, and we saw Phillip Rivers come out of retirement. It was pretty crazy to see a 45-year-old quarterback come out of retirement and sling the rock around a little.
Well, I'll put this out there, in our Sunday Script group chat. Carm was saying, if Phillip Rivers plays, I'll eat a script, right? Just jokingly, right?
Good thing
you didn't say it on the script, because then you would have to eat a script.
I purposely didn't say it on the show because then I would have had to stick to it, and that wasn't as far-fetched as the Dolphins making the playoffs, right? Maybe something, give me another good challenge, maybe I'll do it. Drop it in the comments or something. I'll weigh my options. Anyway, Phillip Rivers did end up starting, so I would have theoretically ate the script. He didn't play all that well. It's about what you expect from him. I guess better than expected, but whatever. Legion of Boom didn't look that crazy.
No.
So we'll see. The Colts defense I haven't been too hot on all season. I think that they played a good game against Seattle, but I'm not that sold on Sam Darnold, really. And I think that Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey are a lot better. I think that Robert Saleh is also going to cook something up for an immobile 45-year-old QB.
Yeah.
He's going to cook something up for him if he has to hold on to the ball a little bit longer, let the pass rush get there. Pass rush has been weak for the 49ers. However, I like him in this game. Long flight. Fans of the show of the long flight, but not this game. We're going to lock in San Francisco.
Yeah, if you watched that Phillip Rivers game last week, it was literally just Indianapolis Jones in disguise. I mean, they're wearing the same number, literally, right?
Yeah.
So it was just a dink and dunk to Jonathan Taylor.
Yep.
They were doing the exact same thing they were doing with Daniel Jones, except they were doing it with a 45-year-old immobile quarterback.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is why I was saying that Daniel Jones is fraudulent.
Which is why I'll get into Shane Steichen here in a little bit in our takes, right? But, Shane Steichen's a rinse lord himself, and the only way this could, bite us in the ass is if the Niners are due and the Colts are due. The Niners have had a, of course, relatively successful season. I am surprised that they're 9-4. They're 10-4. Apologies, my bad. After playing the Titans and being the Titans, but I'm surprised that that's their record.
It was looking bleak for
all
them.
The injuries, right?
Yeah, all the injuries. It was looking bleak.
Mikey McCorkle wins you some games, right? So
yeah, Mikey McCorkle stepped up huge for them.
Yeah, right.
Huge.
Shout out to Davis Mills and Mikey McCorkle.
Both of them,
right?
Yeah, both of them.
Both of them played, pivotal roles in their team's success in the middle of the season, keeping them in the playoff picture. But Phillip Rivers is probably going to give you the same thing he gave you last week, I would assume. Unless we get a huge game from Jonathan Taylor, which is always possible. He still is a fantastic running back.
Absolutely.
But we'll take the Niners this week on the Sunday Script to finish out your full 16-leg parlay this week. And we're coming up on the end of the season here, fellas. And the playoffs are going to be nuts.
Yep.
We got some things planned for the playoffs, right? And
it's been a wild ride thus far.
It's been a wild ride thus far, and we've done 16 of these sluts so far. So
yeah,
we'll see how the rest of them go. But we'll get into your favorite segment, as always. We'll get into our Week 16 takes, where opinions, some of these could be written as op-eds, like I've said before, some editorials. But we'll get into that this week on the Sunday Script. And my Week 16 take on the Sunday Script is there are a plethora of coaches on the hot seat ending this year if I was the GM of these teams, here are the coaches that I would fire, and not in any order, of course. Raheem Morris, gone. Shane Steichen, gone. Mike Tomlin, I would move on. John Harbaugh, I would also move on. Zach Taylor, I would move on. I'm trying to think of who else. Fuck, I forgot. Jonathan Gannon, I would move on from Jonathan Gannon, as well as the Jets head coach. I can't think of his name now for some reason. Aaron Glenn. I'd move on from Aaron Glenn too. Those are all the coaches that are either hurting them teams from winning games or are doing jack shit to allow their teams to win games. And throw McDaniels in there too, because he's just rinsing. That was never a good hire when he was high when they interviewed him. I don't know if you remember that, but that was the whole story. I mean, these coaches are, nothing creative, nothing special about them, and they just cry and make bad decisions and don't draft well. I mean, Shane Steichen, drafting Richard Sell and then going and get Daniel Jones and then now Phillip Rivers. Like, what are you doing? So that's my take. Is there's a plethora of coaches that need to be gone, but I guarantee you we have 7 every cycle, so maybe all 7 will be gone. We'll see.
All right, thank you very much, Tim. My take this week, I'm going to talk a bit about how the game is played. They're at the NFL level. This is entertainment. We're all about touchdowns, fumbles, interceptions, safeties, big hits. And regarding the big hits, we see far too many defensive players in the NFL making millions and millions and millions of dollars to play not only the highest level of the game, but a fundamentally sound version of the game, which allows you to play at the highest level. And we've seen far too many missed tackles in the league because the defender doesn't know how to wrap up. It is a fundamental aspect of football that when you lay the hit, you wrap the opponent up. But you get these defensive players, specifically safeties, linebackers, cornerbacks, who come off a screen pass, come into the backfield on a run, and try to lay the Madden hit stick. And they just dive into him with their shoulder. Next thing you know, the 240-pound running back with tree trunk thighs broke my tackle? Shocker. What are you thinking? Just wrap him up. Your biceps are the size of his thighs. You still make a great play instead of the running back or receiver, whoever, running 20 yards after the play before the next defender gets there. It's ridiculous. You don't need to put every single person on your highlight reel as a defensive player. If you're in position to make a good play, make the play, shut up, and go back to the huddle. You don't need the Madden hit sticks unless maybe you play for Sean Payton. Anyway, that's it from me.
And my take this week, I think it's going to be important for us to have a conversation about these cameramen and their angles on fouls and on touchdowns. I mean, I don't know who's doing the job. They have a billion people with cameras lining the field. Players run into them. There's so many of them. Yet, whenever there's a tight play, it's always the worst angle. I mean, I don't need to see the dude's back when I'm trying to see if the ball crossed the threshold for the touchdown. Or if they're trying to cross the threshold for the first down, I don't need to see a zoomed out version from 400 feet to try to determine where the line is. They have cameras everywhere. We need to sit down and have a conversation about why they don't give it to us, the best angles. Because whenever they score a touchdown, they have the best angle of the touchdown. Running with the ball, doing one of these, spiking it, trying to look cool for the camera. We deserve, as fans, to know what's going on. And if they're not showing us the best, clearest picture of what's going on, then there's going to be some fuckery at foot, And especially when people put money on the line. I know a guy that has his house on the line, trying to win this. It's not going to work, and he's just going to rinse his house. So please, please, please have this conversation, NFL, with your fans about the importance of getting us good camera angles to make educated decisions.
All right, and we'll get into it with the Week 16 rundown here on the Sunday Script. Thursday night rinse. Rams go into Seattle. We'll take whose house? Rams' house this week on the Sunday script. Eagles, Commanders. We're going to fly. Eagles fly. Give us the Eagles this week. Packers, Bears. We're going to bear down. We're going to take the Bears this week. Chargers, Cowboys. We're going to rock with the Bolts to go into Jerry World and end their playoff hopes. Vikings, Giants. Give us 9 and cock. We'll take the Vikings this week. Bengals, Dolphins. We're going to take the Bengals to go in and beat Quinn Ewers this week on the Sunday script. Bucks, Panthers. We're going to take Carolina. We'll take Carolina this week on the Sunday script. Saints, Jets. The Jets are as good as done, and Tyler Shuck has shown some promise. We're going to take the Saints this week. Bills, Browns. We'll take the Bills. The Browns are in shambles. And maybe Josh Allen should win MVP. Chiefs, Titans. Chiefs might be starting Gardner, but we're going to take them this week on the Sunday script. We'll take the Chiefs. Jags, Broncos. Broncos ride high in mile high. We'll take Denver, number 1 seed in the AFC. Falcons, Cardinals. Give us the Cardinals this week in the red zone. Raiders, Texans. Minus 14 for the Texans. Take the points if you want to. We'll take the Texans this week. Steelers, Lions. We'll take the Lions in day 2 to beat Aaron in a Steeler uniform, not a Packer uniform, this week on the Sunday script. Patriots, Ravens. We're going to take the Pat Riots to get a win on Sunday Night Football. And for the Monday night finisher, the Niners go in to play the 44-year-old grandfather. We're going to take the San Francisco 49ers this week on the Sunday script. And that is your Week 16 rundown here. We hope to see you next week where you will be significantly richer, and so will we. We'll see you next week on the Sunday script.